Come in. Laswell.
General Shepard.
Oh, I know that look. Are we at war?
Hi, this is Alex from Envision Games Community with a review for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. First off, thank you to Activision for the review copy of the game. So, let's dive right in, shall we? 3 years ago, I reviewed Infinity Ward's reboot of the original Modern Warfare. I hailed it as my Game of the Year pick, and I still stand by that choice to this day. Never had I enjoyed a campaign as much as I did with 2019's Modern Warfare. Yes, there are some contenders that follow closely behind, like the original Modern Warfare 2, Infinite Warfare and Black Ops for example, yet none could compare to the brilliance that was Modern Warfare. The story was brilliant, the writing was sublime, the characters, the graphics, the cutscenes and the multiplayer with the introduction of Warzone. I was excited to see what was next. Treyarch's entry with Black Ops Cold War was certainly a nice follow-up. The story was like a spy thriller, the graphics were jaw-dropping, and it added a new element of choice to your missions which I really liked. The thing that was the icing on the cake for me was the multiplayer. It was so much fun. The map variety was superb, the gunsmith was top-notch, and the overall interface of the multiplayer and the matchmaking was smooth and intuitive. It was hands down my favourite Call of Duty for multiplayer. And not just because I was also actually good at it too. The next game that followed was Call of Duty Vanguard. I have to say, this was a bit of a step back for me. While again the game looked stunning with the graphics, the story really didn't grab me like the ones that came before. There was one real standout mission where you play as Laura Bailey's Polina Petrova, which felt like it was snatched right out of Enemy at the Gates. Yet, that was it. The multiplayer felt too similar to Call of Duty World War II, and it didn't really add anything for me. Whereas Infinity Ward and Treyarch have clear goals in their storylines, and the franchises of Modern Warfare and Black Ops, I find Sledgehammer runs a bit inconsistent, like it's still trying to find its footing. They had a good game with Advanced Warfare, then ditched that time period to go back to World War II, whereas the other mainline games in the series stay more in the modern era. We shall see where they go next in 2024. Which leads us to now, with the most recent instalment of the franchise. And like I said in my 2019 review, the ball is back in the series creators' court, with Infinity Ward and Modern Warfare 2.
Gold Eagle actual, Shadow 1 is weapons hot. We're burning daylight here.
Copy, Graves. Stand by. Laswell, do we have confirmation?
Watcher 1 to Bravo 07. You in position?
Nearly there.
Now, there are many great sequels out there. Mass Effect 2, Gears of War 2, and The Last of Us Part 2 to name a few. But there is always that fear in the back of my mind. Can they do one better from what came before? So, let's take a look. Let's start with the campaign. As Call of Duty campaigns go, this is on their top tier in my books. The best being Modern Warfare 2019, closely followed by the original Modern Warfare 2. So, how does the campaign match up to its predecessor and its original incarnation? To put it bluntly, very well. It's a great follow-up to the fantastic story of Modern Warfare 2019. However, it just felt like it was lacking a real standout story moment that made the game memorable. What do I mean by this, I hear you asking? Well, Modern Warfare 2019 had so many memorable moments in its story, from the classic and ultra-realistic Clean House mission, to the 13 hours Secret Soldiers of Benghazi inspired the Embassy mission. Each one of those missions in their own right pushed the bar in what a COD game could do for its narrative. It was something we had never seen before in the franchise. In the case of Modern Warfare 2, however, there weren't any missions that particularly stood out for me. There are a few exceptions, however, which were more gameplay elements than real standout story moments. These being the missions Recon by Fire, Dark Water, and Alone. To start with, Recon by Fire is a beefed up version of the Going Dark mission in Modern Warfare 2019. It's a large open map set on a small secluded island in Spain with Gaz and Price trying to find out what operation the game's main villain, Hassan, has got going on there. It's a sniping mission, and is essentially a callback to the All Gillied Up mission from the original Modern Warfare. You play as Gaz, and you have to clear out enemies using stealth and a keen eye for marksmanship to get you to the main objective at the lighthouse on the coast of the island. I would have to say this is one of the more lengthier missions depending on how you approach it. For me, I set myself the goal of using stealth, and I tried not to break that element of surprise. I took my time and hid whilst enemies passed close by on foot. I really put some thought into lining up my shots to, as Price would put it a lot in this mission, take out two with one shot. So, in the end this mission took up to an hour, but depending on how you approach it, it's entirely up to you. The second standout mission gameplay-wise was Darkwater. Again, I could see this was a callback to the original Modern Warfare mission, Crew Expendable, and the Modern Warfare 2 mission, The Only Easy Day Was Yesterday, which was also set on an oil rig and cargo ship. The key standout feature for this mission was the cargo ship itself. Navigating the main deck was absolute torture. Hats off to the developers for this mission, as it both infuriated me and delighted me at the same time. The trick is that you have to get from the bow of the ship to the bridge on the stern of the ship, but to do this, you must cross the open deck littered with loose cargo containers and bad guys trying to kill you. What makes this mission so challenging is 9 times out of 10 it won't be an enemy killing you in your attempt to make it to the bridge. It will be a cargo container slamming into you and crushing you dead. They are everywhere. They are unforgiving and they are relentless. Couple that with the rain and waves crashing over the side of the ship adds to the anxiety of how best to approach this literal minefield. You really need to take a step back and plan your way through this one, because if you don't, you'll be cursing loudly at that cargo container coming straight towards you out of nowhere with the bridge just a footstep away. Lastly is the mission alone, and I will go back on myself here and say that this is also a standout story set piece. Like in the original Modern Warfare 2, Task Force 141 is betrayed by General Shepard. However, this time it's not Shepard directly pulling the trigger, it's his lapdog, Commander Graves of his Shadow Company. You play as Soap here, and after Graves turns on you, Alejandro and Ghost, you manage to flee the area both badly wounded and alone. After a cutscene, you make radio contact with Ghost, who is dug in at a local church. You have to make your way through the Mexican town of Las Almas, which has been overrun by shadow soldiers killing anything that moves, which forces you to really use stealth here. Believe me, I tried going loud, and it didn't end well. This is another mission that can take anywhere up to an hour, depending on how you play. The great dynamic here though is the ability to craft crude and rudimentary weapons out of the supplies you find in the field as you make your way through the ruined streets of Las Almas. You don't obtain any guns until the tail end of the mission, and even then, unless it's a silence weapon, you should only use them as a last resort. You can craft an array of tools, from a pry tool to open locked drawers and doors, smoke bombs, a shiv, molotovs, and trap bombs. It's unique, it's creative, and it really puts you in the sense of using the environment to your advantage. So there is just a taster of this Call of Duty campaign, and I have to say, it's been one of the most challenging Call of Duty campaigns I've ever experienced, and that's what makes it so much fun. The story as well is a truly good one to experience. It's not quite as good as its predecessor, but it certainly trails behind it very closely. The main thing I love about this campaign is that it's a truly globe-trotting story. You'll be going from country to country, from Mexico and Spain to Amsterdam and Chicago. It's World War Z, the film, in video game form, but with a terrorist plot to uncover instead of a global zombie apocalypse to survive. Like the COD games that came before it, Modern Warfare 2 is packed with homages to popular action films and TV shows, but I found them to be more subtly used this time around. There are definite influences from the TV show Narcos and the feature film Sicario, but the end mission felt mainly inspired by Die Hard. Take of that as you will, but that's my 2 cents. The one negative criticism I had about the campaign of Modern Warfare 2 was in its domestic villains of General Shepard and Shadow Company's commander Philip Graves. The betrayal towards Task Force 141 didn't feel as backstabbing as it did in the original Modern Warfare 2. And for me, that was down to this portrayal of General Shepard commanding operations from behind the desk and not out in the field like the original Shepard. Backstabbing this time around came from his puppet Graves. And while the scene played out in a tense and uneasy manner, cleverly aided by the subtitles turning from friendly green to enemy red, it didn't have the same impact as the original Et tu Brute moment. The betrayal us gamers felt when Shepard shot Ghost in cold blood and then left Roach for dead as they were both set on fire sparked a red-hot burning hatred for revenge. This meant that the payoff of Shepard's death scene at the end of the game was worth it and satisfying. And what a scene that was. Ouch. This time around you can't quite pin on who the bad guy is here. Yes, it's obvious Graves is the one turning on you, and then proceeding to hunt you down, but Shepard doesn't feel strong as a villain as he once was. Overall, the campaign was a strong entry to the Call of Duty franchise and is one that is definitely worth multiple playthroughs. For the multiplayer, the game excels in typical COD fashion, with highly addictive online gameplay. The gameplay itself really feels balanced, with nice perks to unlock through your progression. I also really like the variety of maps here. However, there aren't any that stand out to me quite like Black Ops Cold War's Zoo map, for example. I love that map. Gunsmith is back and is fully fleshed out and very expansive, with a wide array of weapon attachments and cosmetics to mod your guns to your heart's content. You'll be creating your favourite loadouts for hours on end, with plenty of camos to unlock for your guns through challenges to complete. The Vault edition of the game includes a cross-gen bundle of the game, for both PS4 and PS5. It also includes additional content for multiplayer, including a Red Team 141 Operator Pack which includes Ghost, Soap, Farah and Price, an FJX Cinder first ever weapon vault, and Battle Pass 1 season with 55 tier skips. Now, having played a considerable amount of hours on multiplayer, I can safely say this is one of my favourites for online gameplay. My first being Black Ops Cold War, as previously mentioned. The multiplayer side is extremely fun. Countless hours have been spent on Team Deathmatch, ranking myself up in all my favourite loadouts. Operations also makes a return here with 3 new missions to play out with a friend. Again, many hours of fun was spent playing out missions with a friend online, as we found and planned multiple ways to tactically complete each mission as stealthily as we could. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows here in Modern Warfare 2. Unfortunately, the PS4 version, and my playthrough in particular, was plagued with bugs that detracted from the overall experience. In the campaign, audio would start to stutter during important story elements. Cutscene audio would too fall victim of this, with me having to rely heavily on subtitles. I also experienced a weird lag with movement controls where, even in the campaign, my character would be delayed in movement and would refuse to go in the direction I wanted. At first, I thought it was a controller issue, so I switched to a different controller in the hope that it would rectify the issue I was experiencing. And at first it did look like it was just down to my hardware. But then the movement lag came back. This was exceptionally annoying on multiplayer, as sometimes when I was playing the movement would overcompensate and I would go past the point I was trying to aim at. Now, the developers are aware of this and the most recent patch has done a pretty good job to rectify the issue, but unfortunately it's still there lurking in the background. I think at the end of the day, this is just down to the hardware of the PS4 not being able to cope with a beefy game designed for a next-gen console like the PS5. Now, I'm not saying it's in any way like a Cyberpunk kind of level, but when you see textures struggling to pop in on time or faces of characters not looking crisp as they should be, you can't help but think how much better it would look on a PS5. Multiplayer as well suffers from bad load times and lag that would see me waiting to get into a game for 5 minutes, and sometimes even just freezing entirely, causing me to restart the game. But, like I said, with the most recent software patch, there has been some improvement here. Let's just hope they build upon this and make it a smooth and fluid experience for matchmaking. Unfortunately, there are some elements missing from the latest entry's multiplayer that were present in past releases. Game modes like Cyber Attack, for example. Barracks and challenges are also missing, which is a real shame if you're keen in tracking your progression and keeping up to speed with your kill to death ratios. On top of that, you can't currently prestige either. This is down to Activision taking a different approach to the prestige system and introducing it when Season 1 starts, along with Battle Pass, on November 16th. The idea is that you work on your prestige throughout the season for it to then reset once the season ends. I can see the novelty of working on a prestige each season rather than putting a permanent marker on your overall rank. You can set yourself a goal for you to work towards on each new season to be rewarded with a satisfying payoff. However, to change something that so many players strive towards for it to then be only reset at the end of each season feels like a luck of the draw. People are either gonna love it or hate it. Time will tell. Finally, the graphics, music and sound. Graphics wise, even though at times it struggles on the PS4, this game is graphically amazing. There were at times when I was watching cutscenes when I thought I was actually in fact watching a live action scene. I love the way new COD games have been approaching the graphics now, and I can't wait to see what's in store for the future. Just have a look at some of the examples in this video and see for yourself. That's enough to let you know how gorgeous this game is. The soundtrack for this game is absolutely stellar and really helps to immerse you in the cinematic story. Sarah Schachner returns as the composer and again knocks it right out of the park. It's dark, it's gritty, and at times it's super tense. If all else, listen to the soundtrack on Spotify and appreciate how good this score is. The theme tune has just been playing in my head on repeat ever since I heard it. Finally, the acting. And wow, the acting in this COD game is brilliant.
There, Ghost? That was a big mistake, brother. Did not have to be like this. Son of a bitch. Find him!
Barry Sloan reprises his role as Captain Price, along with Elliot Knight as Gaz. New additions to this Call of Duty include the beloved characters of Soap and Ghost, both excellently voiced by Neil Ellis and Samuel Rukin. Warren Cole from the Terminal List absolutely kills it as Philip Graves, and Glenn Morshower from 24 does a truly standout performance as General Shepard. Although I do still prefer Lance Henriksen's version of Shepard, who really nailed the backstabbing nature of the character in the original game. Motion capture wise, everyone did a stellar job, but I do have to say the standout performance for me at the entire game, and in turn my favourite character, was Alain Messer with Alejandro Vargas. Scenes with him in were some of the best to see played out.
Alejandro! Sergeant McTavish!
Call me Soap.
Lieutenant! Last one says they call you Ghost.
Actually, I believe he prefers to
That'll do! Welcome to the City of Souls.
Overall, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is a competent entry into the franchise and a brilliant follow-up to 2019's Modern Warfare. With a globe-trotting and immersive campaign and highly addictive multiplayer gameplay, this is a Call of Duty that will be keeping you entertained for hours on end. My final score for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review and would like to hear more content like this, visit our website at www.envisioncommunity.co.uk. Alternatively, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe and hit the little bell to get notified when we release more content. Till next time.